Before we get into the video, could everyone please subscribe to my channel? Thank you so much. Lucas abandoned me, who was about to give birth at home, to meet his white moonlight. In the end, the baby died in my womb on the way to meet his white moonlight. Lucas was involved in a severe car accident and had to have his limbs amputated. Feeling disheartened, I proposed a divorce to Lucas, but I was morally coerced and accused of abandoning my disabled husband. The small internet celebrity, his white moonlight, even publicly condemned me for my supposed crime during her livestream. Everyone around me claimed I was ungrateful and selfish, including my own family, who sided with Lucas. Faced with betrayal from all sides, I chose to commit suicide by jumping off a building. Then I was reborn a month before my due date. At that time, I was cooking dinner for Lucas while 8 months pregnant. Lucas was on the phone, and I knew he was talking to Grace. "Emily, I need to step out for work," Lucas said, hugging me from behind and whispering in my ear. I felt nauseous, but this time I wouldn't argue with him. His departure was just the opportunity I needed to gather evidence. After Lucas left, I lost all motivation to cook. Just thinking about the sacrifices I had made for him made me feel sick, as if I had eaten something revolting. Lucas and I met through a blind date, and it wasn't until after we got married that I learned he had long had a crush on Grace. When Grace suddenly got married, Lucas, who had always been her devoted admirer, had no choice but to put her aside and return to his own life. After we got married, Lucas fulfilled his responsibilities as a husband, and before Grace divorced and came back to him, our life was relatively happy. But ever since Grace appeared, Lucas's heart was entirely with her. No matter what time it was, if she called, he would rush to her side. I had argued with Lucas about this many times. He always insisted that he was just taking care of a friend and that nothing was going on between them. Grace was clever. Not only did she frequently say in my ear that she and Lucas were just ordinary friends, but she also endeared herself to my family and our friends. She made everyone around me think she was my close friend. When Lucas and I fought, she would act as the peacemaker, urging us to reconcile. With Grace's influence, no one would suspect any inappropriate relationship between her and Lucas. As a result, despite my claims that Lucas was disabled because of Grace, no one believed me. They all saw me as ungrateful and selfish. Suppressing my discomfort, I began to set my revenge plan in motion. I first bought 2 miniature cameras online, one to install in the living room and the other on the outdoor balcony, the spot where Lucas loved to talk to Grace. Then I reached out to Henry, Lucas's childhood best friend, and obtained photos of Lucas and Grace from earlier in my past life. When Lucas lost his limbs, I had tried to get him to help me prove that Lucas and Grace had been together for a long time, but he coldly refused. Finally, I began to shape Lucas. S's image as a good man on social media, 9 months pregnant. Daddy went to work extra hours to earn money for baby formula. Daddy is working hard. People are more easily stirred by the facade of a man with the heart of a beast. Once the truth comes to light, my victim status will only evoke more sympathy for me. Everything I planned was instilled in me by Lucas and Grace after they morally coerced me. Next, it would be their turn to reap what they had sown. The day I was due arrived as expected. The moment my water broke, I called out for Lucas, who was on the phone. Just like in my previous life, I called him for a long time, but he didn't respond at all. Only after he finished his call did he pretend to care and come to the bathroom to support me. "Emily, what's wrong?" "I'm about to give birth," I said, feeling distressed. As expected, Lucas's face showed no joy or nervousness, only difficulty. He was in a hurry to go see Grace. "Take me to the hospital," I spoke, struggling to let Lucas help me to the living room where the cameras could capture everything he did. "Emily, I'll call an ambulance. You wait here for the medical staff to come get you. I have something to take care of, but I'll go to the hospital as soon as I'm done," Lucas said calmly, showing not the slightest hint of guilt. What could be so urgent that you have to go out now? I'm about to give birth. Lucas, can't you stay with me? I asked angrily, trying to endure the pain. Giving birth isn't a big deal. Every woman goes through it. Why are you making such a fuss? Lucas said shamelessly. Giving birth isn't a big deal. Grace has menstrual cramps, and you're all worried, rushing to buy her red sugar water and heating pads, helping her wash clothes and cook. Thinking back to everything, I still trembled with anger. How did I comfort myself for so many years? Lucas had nothing to do with Grace. He was just kind-hearted. Why do you keep bringing up Grace? How many times do I have to say this? I have a clean conscience with Grace. Every time we argue, you bring her up. Are you jealous of Grace or something? As soon as Grace was mentioned, Lucas's anger flared up immediately. In the past, I thought he spoke so righteously because he was honest. Now I realized he was simply embarrassed and angry. Lucas, are you going to see Grace tonight? I asked coldly. I just saw you on the phone with Grace. Do you want me to call Grace and confront her? I forced him to admit the truth. Lucas was already impatient with me, and at this moment, he probably didn't want to waste time on me anymore. Yeah, I'm going to see Grace, but it's not what you think. Grace has something important she needs me for, he said. So I'm not important at all. Can't you be a little more magnanimous? It's not easy for a single woman like Grace. Isn't it hard for me? My husband is ignoring me to take care of her. Lucas, don't you think you're really shameless? I said through gritted teeth. It's you who's shameless. You're the one who's twisted our pure friendship into something filthy. Lucas. I was completely indifferent. Forget it. I don't want to argue with you. I'll help her resolve her issue sooner and then go to the hospital to be with you after. Saying that, Lucas left without a second thought. He didn't care that my water had broken, nor did he care that I was in excruciating pain. He had to go to Grace first, but he wouldn't know that from the moment he stepped out of this house to rush to Grace, his retribution would soon follow. The ambulance Lucas called for me didn't arrive until half an hour later. By that time, I was in so much pain I was nearly fainting. In my previous life, my fetus had died at this moment because I lost too much amniotic fluid, and my baby was deprived of oxygen. This time, I decided to give up as well. Although the child was innocent, if I was going to cut ties with Lucas completely, there shouldn't be any lingering connections. There are too many people in this world who claim to do things for your own good. Anyone who has experienced it knows how terrifying these people can be. I believed that the child could understand my pain and helplessness. While getting into the ambulance, I called my family. When I arrived at the hospital, they were already waiting for me at the entrance. Before I entered the operating room, I pulled my brother and insisted he help me record a video. If I die today, I won't let Lucas go, even as a ghost. If I survive, the first thing I'll do is divorce Lucas. After recording, I was taken into the operating room. I underwent an emergency cesarean section, and naturally, the child was no longer with me. I was then transferred to a hospital room. Emily, my mother, hesitated several times to speak. She was probably afraid I wouldn't be able to handle losing my child, especially now that Lucas had been in a car accident. I was indeed very weak. In my last life, because of the moral coercion from Lucas and Grace, I hadn't been able to eat properly or sleep well throughout my recovery period. As a result, my health deteriorated and my mental state worsened. Let's talk tomorrow, I said, closing my eyes. 5 days later, I prepared to be discharged. During this time, I didn't ask about Lucas. Whenever my family tried to bring it up, I deliberately interrupted them. On the day I was discharged, my mother couldn't hold back any longer. She said, "Emily, we won't hide this from you anymore. On the day you gave birth, Lucas drove recklessly to rush to the hospital to be with you. He got into a severe car accident and had to have both legs amputated. He's still in the hospital. He rushed to be with me. In my previous life, this excuse had made everyone side with him. We didn't tell you earlier because you were too weak, and we were afraid you wouldn't be able to handle it, but we can't hide it from you forever. You should go see him before you leave the hospital, okay? I didn't refuse. After all, many things need to be pushed forward to achieve their goals. In the hospital room, Lucas's family was there along with Grace. Grace looked When she saw me, her emotions spiraled out of control. "Emily, you finally came." "Lucas," she choked on her words, unable to finish. "He drove recklessly to be with you during your delivery." Grace was always clever. Her seemingly unintentional words directed all the blame toward me. I turned to look at Lucas, seeing his expression of pain and guilt. He said, "I'm sorry, Emily. I came too late. I wasn't able to be with you during your delivery or help you through your hardest time." "You didn't want to," Grace said painfully beside him. I watched the two of them play their roles coldly. Because of their performance, I had suffered the greatest hostility in the world. I said, "Lucas, since you feel so guilty, let's get a divorce." The moment I spoke, everyone in the hospital room was shocked. Grace was the most agitated. "Emily, how can you kick him when he's down? Lucas lost his legs because of you, and when he needed you the most, you want a divorce. Don't you think you're being too heartless and cruel? Are you sure he lost his legs because of me?" I looked coldly at Grace. Grace still showed a hint of guilt, but in the next moment she became assertive again. Perhaps she was certain that Lucas would unconditionally stand by her side at all times. In fact, he did. In my previous life, no matter what nonsense Grace spouted, Lucas never exposed her lies. "Emily, you can't turn your back on him just because Lucas is disabled now. Everyone can see how well he treated you," Grace said, full of righteous indignation. I hadn't even opened my mouth when Lucas's family began to speak up. "Emily, I know you can't accept Lucas's current situation right now, but you two are husband and wife. As the saying goes, 1 day as a husband, 100 days of kindness. You can't just abandon Lucas, can you? When Lucas hadn't lost his legs, he poured his heart and soul into you. Now that Lucas is in trouble, you can't be so ungrateful. Even if Mom begs you, what will Lucas do now that he's like this without you? Don't worry, your dad and I will support you more in the future, and we won't let you suffer." Everyone was placing me on a pedestal of moral ethics. Lucas's family looked at me with indifference. They quickly spoke to my parents. "In these years, you've seen the relationship between Lucas and Emily. Now that Lucas is in trouble, Emily is turning her back. This is just too wrong. If this gets out, it'll be a joke for both our families." My family has always held strong values, and while they surely had some selfish motives, not wanting me to be ruined by Lucas, they couldn't reconcile their morals with what Lucas's family said. At this moment, my dad directly stated, "Don't worry, Emily won't divorce Lucas. She's just struggling to accept losing the baby." I knew my future father-in-law wouldn't be so heartless. Besides, the baby's death isn't Lucas's fault. Lucas didn't know Emily was about to give birth when he had to work overtime. If he hadn't rushed to the hospital, he wouldn't have been in such a situation. Ever since the accident, Lucas's mother spoke as if it was my fault. Lucas had the accident. The loss of the child is Lucas's fault. As for his accident, it was caused by Grace. I replied coldly, "Emily, what are you saying?" Grace's voice was high-pitched, looking completely incredulous. "How can you say such irresponsible things? The loss of the baby was an accident. Lucas had the accident to be with you. Are you really so devoid of morals that you would leave Lucas, who exactly has no moral compass?" I finally lost my temper. Originally, I shouldn't have let my emotions get the best of me after a cesarean section, but even after going through it a second time, I couldn't hold back any longer. "What kind of secret relationship do you and Lucas have? Don't you both know in your hearts that night, didn't Lucas leave me? Who was about to give birth to go see you and end up in that accident? After all these years of friendship, how can you falsely accuse me of having a relationship with Lucas?" Grace cried as if she had suffered an immense injustice. Whenever you and Lucas argued, I was the one who mediated, and now you say this about me? Emily, do you have no conscience? I couldn't help but laugh in anger. Emily, how can you say this about Grace? Lucas's mother's tone was somewhat harsh. We've all seen how good she is to you and Lucas. Your issues with Lucas shouldn't involve Grace. My dad stood by Grace's side. I didn't blame them for not seeing through Grace's true character. After all, Grace was very good at acting. I wasn't truly angry anyway. Soon enough, her hypocrisy would be ripped apart. The more she acted up now, the more it would disgust people. In the end, I turned to Lucas and asked, "Tell me, how exactly did you have the accident?" Others might not know Grace was lying, but Lucas was fully aware. I was giving him one last chance. At the end of the day, Lucas losing his legs could be considered divine punishment. If he had a bit of conscience and didn't push me like this with Grace, I wouldn't have to go to extremes with him. I was rushing to the hospital to be with you when I had the accident, Lucas said without hesitation. Ultimately, it was I who had elevated Lucas. Emily, don't fabricate things to justify abandoning Lucas, Grace said. Hearing Lucas say this, she became even more assertive. A glimmer of triumph flashed in her eyes. She had indeed won over Lucas. I didn't want to waste any more words. After all, saying anything would be useless. I hadn't planned to reveal the evidence I had at this moment. I wasn't that kind-hearted in my previous life. They had pressured me to death. In this life, I would return the favor even more fiercely. Let's talk about divorce when you're discharged. I dropped that line and turned to leave. Behind me, Lucas's family called out to me, but I didn't pay attention. My parents chased after me, and my dad earnestly said, "Emily, you can't treat Lucas like this." I looked at my dad, thinking about how in my last life I hadn't gained their understanding, but when I died. To give birth, she said those things out of spite. The real reason she wanted a divorce is that Lucas lost his legs. She was afraid he would hold her back. This is what Emily admitted herself. Everyone was advising her to be good with Lucas, and she blurted it out in anger. It's unfortunate that I didn't record it because I never expected my best friend to be this kind of person. By the way, I also have Emily's social media posts. She was thanking Lucas for working hard for the family in the last month of her pregnancy. Grace shared screenshots of my social media posts, further confirming that what she said was true. Nissan became even more enraged, attacking me and urging me to stop humiliating myself and to get along well with Lucas. As I exchanged accusations with Grace, it boosted her streaming viewership. She must have been secretly thanking my stupidity for making her profit immensely. I intentionally took a break for 2 days. Grace probably thought I had no more evidence left. On the third day, Grace shamelessly had Lucas come to her live stream to play the victim and help her sell products. She signed a betting agreement with the merchants. If she sold over 2,000 orders in one live stream, her profits would triple. If not, she would cover the shortfall from her own pocket. Grace was brimming with confidence, believing she had cracked the code to attracting viewers. As long as Lucas was there, fans would definitely support her. And indeed, as she had thought, with Lucas's appearance, the number of viewers in the live stream soared to 20,000, and orders kept skyrocketing. In my previous life, it was during this time that I couldn't bear Grace and Lucas's smugness any longer and desperately chose to commit suicide by jumping off a building. In this life, I saw someone in the live stream questioning Grace. "Are you and Lucas really innocent?" Grace was in the middle of selling her products, and upon seeing that comment replied, "Baby, of course Lucas and I are innocent. Didn't I provide so much evidence to prove it? Our relationship is as pure as it gets. It's pure friendship." The person's words grew more agitated. "You're a liar. This person is a scheming bashag. Everyone, don't fall for her tricks and stop buying her products. All the shady stuff between her and Lucas has been exposed. Hurry up and check Emily's account." "Is that true? No way. Is there more drama? Everyone hurry." Emily has indeed exposed new evidence, and it's explosive. Rush over. Grace was taken aback by the sudden flood of comments. She turned to Lucas, confused. Lucas was equally puzzled. I sat on the sofa, amused, watching the two clowns in the live stream. Prompted by Grace, Lucas quickly pulled out his phone and opened my short video account. I had posted surveillance footage of Lucas hiding on the balcony of his house, talking on the phone with Grace. Their explicit and flirtatious words were clearly recorded. Grace panicked. Even with 10 levels of beauty filters, her face turned pale in shock. In her live stream, she had already started to curse. The vicious language was no more pleasant than what they had previously hurled at me. She chose not to end the live stream immediately, as her sales orders were still low. She thought she could still turn things around, so she tried hard to explain. Babies, you've all misunderstood. I've never made those calls with Lucas. That person wasn't me. As she spoke, she quickly turned to Lucas and asked, Lucas, who are you calling? Are you using my name as a cover, knowing that Emily and I are best friends, so she wouldn't suspect me? I saw that Lucas couldn't quite hide his embarrassment. He really does love Grace. He's loved her without complaint for at least 10 years. No matter what Grace did or asked for, he willingly gave it all. But now, at the first sign of trouble, Grace distanced herself immediately, throwing Lucas under the bus. Anyone would feel frustrated in such a situation. Lucas, say something, Grace urged anxiously. Meanwhile, the live stream audience continued to insult her. Many people were threatening to cancel their orders. Grace knew very well that if she was proven guilty, her live stream products wouldn't sell anymore, and even the ones already sold would be returned. The clothes she was selling were over 300 yuan each, and according to her agreement, she would owe over 600,000 yuan in compensation. Lucas, Grace called him again, her tone heavier with a hint of threat. Lucas remained silent for a moment before slowly clarifying. On the live stream, this isn't Grace, it's another woman. I laughed, watching Lucas now utterly humiliated. I no longer felt jealousy, only sarcasm and mockery. When Grace heard Lucas say that, she quickly addressed the live audience. Babies, did you hear that? The Grace Lucas mentioned wasn't me at all. Don't let Emily mislead you. Lucas and I are completely innocent. Innocent? Why is he in your live stream then? If you're such good friends with Emily, why are you so close to Lucas? If you were truly best friends, shouldn't you stand with her? Are you just fake friends? Did Grace really think the audience would be that easy to deceive? Earlier, public opinion was on her side, with everyone supporting justice. But now that people had uncovered more evidence, how could anyone still trust her? The crucial point was that I had just released 2 explosive videos. The first was of Grace visiting my home after I installed security cameras. I invited Grace over for dinner. She had occasionally come over before, and every time she visited, Lucas would ask me to make my specialty dish because Grace liked it. I always made it for her, never believing that someone could be so shameless, but they continuously pushed the limits of human decency. The day I invited Grace, I was heavily pregnant, cooking for them in the kitchen. Meanwhile, they were in the living room, sneakily doing unspeakable things. The video showed Lucas cutting fruit for Grace, feeding it to her, and gently wiping her mouth. He would hug her. From time to time, and despite her half-hearted resistance, they even sneaked a couple of kisses, all while watching me work away in the kitchen. The second video was of a fight between Lucas and me, right before I went into labor. The first video confirmed Lucas's affair with Grace during our marriage, and the second proved to everyone that his leg amputation had nothing to do with me. In fact, because of Lucas, we lost our unborn child. These 2 videos would undoubtedly make them targets of public scorn, no matter how well Grace acted. Both she and Lucas would end up ruined, despised by everyone. I watched the flood of curses aimed at Grace and Lucas in the live stream, far worse than the online attacks I once endured. Grace, unable to take the humiliation, abruptly ended the live stream under my account. Countless viewers left comments apologizing to me, saying they had misunderstood and expressing shock at how disgusting Grace and Lucas really were. My phone wouldn't stop buzzing with calls and messages from friends, family, and co-workers who had once morally condemned me, all reaching out to apologize. My family finally held their heads high again. My father, furious, said, "Emily, I never thought you'd suffer so much. We almost misunderstood you too. Don't worry, this marriage with Lucas is over. Tomorrow your mom and I will go talk to Lucas's family." Remembering how my parents failed to understand me in my previous life, even threatening to disown me, it was all finally over. The pain, the abandonment by loved ones, the public scorn, the immense suffering I endured, it was all over now. Lucas didn't return until a week later. By then, the online hatred towards him and Grace had reached its peak. Their actions had stirred widespread outrage, destroying their reputations and careers. Lucas's company, which had once held a position for him out of sympathy, officially announced they wouldn't employ someone of low moral character and terminated him on the spot. Grace's situation was even worse. She had a certain level of public recognition, and once the negative news broke, it completely cut off all her escape routes. Now, even stepping outside, people would point and gossip about her. When Lucas returned, his first priority wasn't to repent or talk about divorce, but to sell the house. He wanted to sell it to cover Grace's losses from her live streaming business deal. However, since the house was joint property, Lucas couldn't make that decision on his own, so he came back to talk to me. I just laughed. There wasn't a hint of sadness left. A man like Lucas wasn't worth it at all. I sarcastically remarked, "Lucas, you're really something else, aren't you?" "I truly love Grace," Lucas declared firmly. Yes, they were truly in love, so naturally, I was going to help this vile couple. I knew exactly what kind of person Grace was. She was only with Lucas because she enjoyed how he catered to her every whim. She never intended to be with him for real. She used moral manipulation on me just to keep me from... I'm divorcing Lucas. Once we were divorced, she'd have to take responsibility for him and couldn't keep rejecting him. But I wasn't kind enough to explain that to Lucas, or maybe I didn't even need to. Lucas already knew. He was just pathetic. "Since you two are so in love, let's get divorced," I said, pulling out the divorce papers and handing them to him. Lucas glanced at the agreement, his face turning incredibly grim. "Why should I leave with nothing? I gave you a chance, but you didn't appreciate it. Now the entire country knows you cheated on me." "What makes you think you deserve anything?" I challenged him. "Emily, don't be so heartless. Why should I be soft on someone as shameless as you? Do you think everyone is as pathetic as you?" I mocked him further. "You don't have to sign the divorce papers today. I'll take this to court myself. I'm confident the court will side with me." Lucas's face rained with anger. Gritting his teeth, he snarled, "Emily, this will destroy whatever bond we have left. How shameless does someone have to be to say such a thing? What bond do you think we still have? Do you think there's still anything left between us?" I laughed even harder. Lucas was humiliated by my words. "If you don't want to humiliate yourself further, I suggest you sign the papers and go live your life with Grace." "I'm not leaving with nothing," Lucas growled. "Fine then, we'll see each other in court." I didn't bother arguing anymore. I rudely kicked him out of the house and wasted no time with all the paperwork prepared. I filed for divorce at the courthouse. The case was accepted immediately. Given the public pressure, the divorce trial took place in less than a month. The court ruled in favor of the divorce and declared that Lucas would leave with nothing. Walking out of the courtroom, I felt lighter than I ever had before. It was as though a huge weight had been lifted off my shoulders. Finally, I was free from the mental torment and completely rid of Lucas. After the divorce, I started a new life, but the social circles are small, and I still heard news about Lucas and Grace from time to time. After leaving with nothing, And without a job or income, Lucas had no choice but to ask his family for money. But when his family found out he was asking to repay Grace's debts, they refused. After repeated attempts, even his family cut ties with him. They informed all their relatives not to lend Lucas any money, stating that they wouldn't be responsible for his debts. Rejected by both family and friends, Lucas finally understood what it meant to be utterly abandoned. Grace didn't fare much better. She came from a poor background and never really worked after entering society, focusing only on trying to become an influencer, though she never achieved fame. After her divorce from her ex-husband, she didn't get much, besides a mortgage to pay off her debts. Grace had to sell her house, leaving her with nowhere to live and no one to help. In the end, they were forced to live in a damp basement. Lucas turned on Grace, and she blamed all her misfortunes on him. Not only did she verbally abuse him, but she also physically assaulted him, kicking and punching him whenever things didn't go her way. At her worst, she even brought other men home in front of Lucas. "Emily, don't feel sorry for Lucas," a friend warned me after sharing the gossip. "He's living such a miserable life now, and he might come back to you. A man like him deserves every bit of this." My friend's prediction came true. One day after work, I saw Lucas waiting for me. I had moved, and I didn't even know how he found out my new address. His wheelchair was rusted, and he looked much thinner. On closer inspection, I noticed bruises on his face, so the rumors were true. Looking at him, all I felt was cold indifference. Pitiful people usually have only themselves to blame, I thought. "Emily," he called out to me. I looked at him. "What do you want?" "I'm sorry, I was wrong," he said. I laughed. "Lucas, if you hadn't come back to me and just stayed with Grace as you always have, I might actually respect you for being a man, since true love conquers all. But seeing you like this now, it's honestly disgusting," I said mercilessly. "I finally see Grace for who she truly is. I now realize how foolish I was. She never loved me. Everything she did was just because I treated her well, and she could benefit from me. But once I had nothing left, she showed her true colors," Lucas said in pain. "So, now that you've realized she's no good, you've come back to me? Emily, let's start over. I swear for the rest of my life I will only love you," Lucas promised, reaching out to take my hand. I quickly pulled away, saying just one word: "Filthy." His awkward hand dropped slowly. "Emily, do I look like a charity case to you?" I asked coldly. "I truly know I was wrong. I'll make it up to you, I promise." "How are you going to make it up to me? You can't even take care of yourself anymore, let alone support a family." "Do you think I'm desperate enough to take care of you, or do you actually believe everything you did to me can just be forgotten? I know I was wrong before. Please give me a chance to make it right. I swear I'll never betray you again," Lucas pleaded. I laughed. "In your current state, where do you get the confidence to think you could even betray me? Do you think any woman would still want you?" Lucas couldn't answer. "I'll say it again. If you don't want to further humiliate yourself, leave now," I said as I turned to go inside. "Emily," Lucas cried, blocking my way. "You once said you loved me. Didn't you love me so much before?" "Yes, I did, and now when I think about it, it makes me sick." "Emily, please just give me one more chance. I promise you'll fall in love with me again." Lucas was desperate, clinging to me shamelessly. The Lucas I once knew had never been this pathetic in front of me. "Will you fall in love with Grace again?" I asked. "Never," Lucas said through gritted teeth. "Then I can assure you I will never fall for you again either." I gave him my final answer. Lucas was momentarily stunned. I was stunned, then grabbed my hand again. I felt a physical revulsion. I tried to push him away, but he held on tightly, begging, "Emily, just one chance. I'll start over and I swear I'll be a good husband." "Let go of me, let go!" I struggled to break free, but Lucas was determined not to release me. Suddenly, a swift kick sent his wheelchair flying, and Lucas lost balance, rolling onto the ground, looking utterly pathetic. Before Lucas could react, a voice said, "Police, you're under arrest for assault." Without another word, the officer handcuffed Lucas and roughly placed him back in his wheelchair, pushing him away. I was shocked and quickly followed them to the police station. At the station, Lucas tried to explain, "We're just a couple having a fight. I didn't hurt her." "Shut up," one of the officers snapped. "Emily is dating our squad leader. Who do you think you are?" Lucas was stunned. "Yes, I had a new boyfriend, Liam, a police officer. Honest, kind, brave, and with strong morals. We were already discussing marriage. He treated me well with sincerity and devotion." It was Liam who had brought Lucas to the station, though it wasn't considered a crime, so his colleagues only gave Lucas a warning. Liam and I walked out of the station together. I saw the regret, the pain, and the despair in Lucas's eyes. After that day, he never contacted me again, but I guess he finally realized his place. 6 months later, Liam and I got married. Not long after, I became pregnant. Even with his busy work schedule, Liam made sure to spend as much time with me as possible during my pregnancy. When it was time for the baby to arrive, he took paternity leave to stay by my side, helping with everything. After the birth, one day after coming home from work, Liam, as always, picked up our baby the moment he walked through the door. While soothing the baby, he said to me, "Emily, today we busted a prostitution ring. One of the people we arrested is someone you know." "Who?" I asked in surprise. "Grace." Grace ended up in custody for violating public security laws. After that, I lost track of her. Some said she was tricked into going to Myanmar for money. A few years later, Liam, our son, and I were out for a walk after dinner. At a street corner, our son suddenly said, "Mummy, that person looks so pitiful. Can I give him some money?" Liam and I turned around and saw Lucas, dirty, disheveled, and crippled. I never imagined he had fallen so low that he was begging on the streets. Lucas noticed us as well. I handed my son a few coins, and he placed them into Lucas's begging bowl, saying kindly, "Uncle, buy yourself something good to eat." Those words cut deep. I saw Lucas's tears fall uncontrollably. Of all the consequences Lucas had faced, nothing hurt him more than my son's innocent kindness. After all, had Lucas not abandoned me for Grace, this happiness should have been his. I held my son's hand, linked arms with Liam, and walked away from Lucas. Karma always finds its way. Life is fair after all. For the rest of my days, I wish for nothing more than, and peace for you and me.